Women often express interest through subtle cues that many men never learn to recognize. The signs you overlook are usually the most important ones. What few people explain is that she's already given you all the information you need. You just haven't been tuned into the right channel. This isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about grasping a deep imbalance in how people communicate, one that has shaped your experiences with women since the moment you first felt attraction. Men tend to speak plainly. Women often communicate through nuance and implication. If you can't read that subtext, half the dialogue remains hidden from you. The result? Missed chances, misread moments, and confusion, while others seem to effortlessly get it. But what they have isn't instinct, it's fluency. They've mastered a form of communication you were never shown. And here's why that matters. On a deeper level, the boundaries of your reality are shaped by what you're able to perceive. If certain cues remain undeciphered, they effectively vanish from your awareness. You end up inhabiting a narrower social world, one where women's interest seems unpredictable, where connection feels like chance, and where you're left trailing behind, wondering what slipped past you. The man who can interpret those signals doesn't share that limited reality. He moves through a different one altogether. It's a reality where intention can be seen, where attraction carries form, weight, and texture. At its core, this is about perception, and perception shapes everything. Research in nonverbal communication and evolutionary psychology reveals something striking. More than 70% of human interaction happens without words. Here's the crucial shift. Women lean on indirect forms of communication far more than men, not out of dishonesty but by design. Anthropologists describe it as plausible deniability. Psychologists frame it as perceptive behavior. In truth, it functions as protection. Across history, women have carried unique risks when expressing desire openly, risks to reputation, safety, and social standing. In response, they developed a parallel system, signals that convey interest while safeguarding themselves. There are signals that the right man can read clearly, while the wrong man overlooks them completely. This is why she doesn't simply spell it out. She can't, at least not in the way you expect.
Subscribe to my channel Psyche Threads for more video every day. Thank you for being here.
In her research on flirtation, behavioral psychologist Monica Moore observed and cataloged more than 52 unique nonverbal cues women use to show interest. The average man notices only a handful. But here's the key. These signals aren't random. They follow recognizable patterns. Once you know what to look for, you can begin to see them. They appear in clusters, building on one another, growing stronger over time. Researchers describe this progression as cascades of interest. A single cue on its own may not mean much, but together, they tell a story. 3 signals together carry weight. 5 in succession tell the whole story. The man who can trace this progression inhabits a reality entirely different from the one who cannot. So let's clarify what you should actually be paying attention to. Not the obvious cues. Everyone knows about eye contact and a smile. We're moving deeper into the hidden framework of attraction. These are the signals tucked into the margins, woven between words, expressed through micro-behaviors most men dismiss as trivial. They're the markers that distinguish men who truly understand women from those who remain perpetually puzzled. Notice how she positions herself, not just in space but in energy and presence. When a woman is interested, she gravitates into your orbit. She doesn't spell it out. She doesn't explain. Instead, she shows up, near the coffee machine at the gym when you're usually there, or in the aisle of the bookstore you once mentioned. Once, twice, maybe 3 times. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern, that's intent. The crucial detail is how she places herself, close enough for you to notice, but not so close that it feels forced. It's proximity with purpose, distance with cover. This is the subtle choreography. Psychologists refer to it as strategic positioning. She's opening the door for interaction without pushing you through it. The novice waits for her to walk straight up. The perceptive man sees that the setting itself is being shaped. She isn't walking straight toward you. She's arranging circumstances so you move toward her. And if you don't, she'll fade quietly, without drama, without explanation, as though she was never there. This is why so many men assume women aren't interested. They wait for a direct approach, while she's already made her move multiple times. just in a language they were never taught to read. Here's the paradox. When a woman is drawn to you, she doesn't always increase her attention. Sometimes she pulls back, but in a way that carries meaning. She may not flood your phone with messages, but the ones she sends are deliberate, thoughtful, and personal. She may not lock eyes with you throughout a conversation, but when you glance away, her gaze returns to you. She may not laugh the loudest at your jokes in a crowd, but weeks later she'll recall the reference in a private moment. That's not casual attention, it's selective, invested attention. A woman who's simply being friendly spreads her energy evenly. A woman who's interested shows uneven energy, because she's balancing something deeper, her vulnerability, her exposure, the risk of being truly seen. Research makes this clear. Attraction raises cortisol levels in women, a stress response. Not harmful stress, but the kind tied to high stakes. Nervousness prompts her to regulate how much attention she shows, a way of protecting herself. She steps back to maintain control, but never fully. There's albu. A's a subtle connection left in place, a thread, a door left slightly ajar. If you're paying close attention, you'll notice her glance back, checking whether you've caught the opening she left. And when your eyes meet, don't listen to her words. Watch her hands. Does she run her fingers through her hair, adjust her outfit, smooth the fabric on her sleeves? These gestures aren't random, they're instinctive. Ethologists, scientists who study animal behavior, refer to this as pining, a universal biological signal of attraction seen across species. When a creature encounters a potential mate, it instinctively tries to enhance its appearance. She isn't consciously planning it, her body is doing the work for her. But here's the subtlety. The meaning isn't in the act itself, it's in the timing. If she fixes her hair while chatting with everyone, that's routine. But if she does it the moment you walk in, right after your eyes meet, or just after something you say resonates, that's not routine, that's reaction. Timing is the key. Pay attention to the subtle shifts that happen specifically in your presence, the smoothing of fabric when you sit nearby, the quick bite of her lip while you're speaking, the way she angles her body so you can see her better. These aren't conscious choices, they're instinctive signals. Her biology speaking before her mind has a chance to edit. Most men miss these cues because they're focused on her words, while her body is broadcasting an entirely different message. E-touch itself is a language, but not every gesture carries the same meaning. When a woman is interested, she doesn't rush into overt contact. She experiments, she tests. The touch gradient unfolds as a sequence, a deliberate, measured escalation. Misread the order and the meaning slips away. It begins with subtle proximity. She brushes past you in a space that isn't crowded. Her shoulder grazes yours when there's plenty of room to avoid it. Her knee rests against yours beneath the table. Then it lingers, just a fraction longer than chance would allow. That pause is the signal. If it were accidental, she'd pull back instantly, apologize, create distance. But she doesn't. Instead, she lets the contact remain long enough for your body to register it, then withdraws slowly. That's the test. She's watching your reaction. Do you stiffen? Do you retreat? Do you pretend nothing happened? Or do you stay grounded, present, and mirror her energy with equal subtlety? Pass the test, and the progression continues. The next stage is incidental touch. She passes you something and her fingers graze yours. She taps your arm mid-laughter. She straightens your collar while pointing out a small detail. Each gesture carries a practical excuse. But the excuse isn't the point. The touch itself is the signal. Research shows that physical contact triggers oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both people. Women understand this instinctively. So when she's interested, she creates moments of contact that feel casual, natural, even deniable. But they're intentional. Every single one. If you don't respond in kind, if you don't meet her in this language, she'll read it as disinterest. And the progression will end quietly, without confrontation, without explanation. Just absence. Because time is the currency of attraction, and women don't spend it without purpose. When she's quietly interested, pay attention to where her time actually goes, not just what she says about her schedule. If she tells you she's busy, she probably is. But the real question is she busy for you? There's a difference between being occupied and being unavailable. A woman who isn't interested will say she's busy and leave it at that. No alternatives, no follow-up. A woman who is interested will say she's busy on Thursday, but immediately suggests Saturday. That's the counteroffer principle. She guards her time, yet carves out space for you within it. This distinction matters, and you'll see it in smaller ways too. Even when life overwhelms her, she still replies. Not instantly, but reliably. She recalls details from conversations weeks ago. She brings up things you mentioned casually. She circles back with follow-up questions about your life. This is cognitive investment. It's not just about the hours she spends with you. It's about the mental energy she spends when you're not there. She's thinking about you, holding onto your words, building a picture of who you are. Psychological research is clear. People devote mental energy to what they find rewarding, to outcomes they want. So if she remembers the small things you say, if she asks questions that reveal she's been reflecting on your answers, she's constructing something, a narrative, a possibility, a future. But she won't say that outright. Instead, she keeps layering pieces, waiting to see if you notice, waiting to see if you contribute to the picture. If you don't, the puzzle remains unfinished. And eventually she stops trying to complete it. When a woman desires you, she doesn't stake her claim with words. She does it with presence. She begins showing up in your spaces, not intruding, but settling in. She leaves subtle traces behind, a hair tie on your table, a jacket left at your place, or coffee order remembered by the barista where you usually go. These aren't coincidences. Anthropologists describe this as nesting behavior, a way of weaving herself into your environment, creating reasons to return, building associations between her presence and your world. And it works the other way too. She opens her own spaces to you, casually rather than formally. I'm cooking tonight, you should drop by. I'm watching that show you mentioned. Want to join? These invitations are tests of compatibility, ways to see how you fit into the rhythm of her daily life. But the deeper signal lies here. She protects your access to her territory. When other men try to step into her world, she draws subtle boundaries. She brings you up, references you, uses your presence as a quiet shield without making it obvious. I've got plans later. A friend is coming over tonight. This week's packed. To him, it sounds like rejection, but in reality, she's safeguarding the space she's reserving for you. Evolutionary psychology calls this territorial behavior, a marker of mate selection. Just as animals protect resources they intend to use, she's protecting her time, her energy, her environment for you. If you don't notice this, if you don't reciprocate by opening space for her in your own life, she interprets it as disinterest, and the territory she was shaping for you quietly disappears. So listen to her words, but more importantly, listen to the meaning beneath them. Women communicate in subtext. What she says on the surface is rarely the full message. I don't usually do this. What she's really saying, I'm making an exception for you. I'm not looking for anything serious right now. What she means, I'm protecting myself because I don't know if you're serious. We should hang out sometime. What she's signaling, I want you to suggest something concrete. The untrained ear hears only the words. The perceptive man hears the invitation beneath them. And here's the crucial point. When she uses uncertain language, maybe sometime we'll see, it isn't indifference. It's plausible deniability. She's leaving herself an escape route in case you turn her down. Women fear rejection too, sometimes even more, because historically showing desire, penly carried social costs men never had to face. So she speaks in possibilities instead of absolutes, in may instead of will, and she watches carefully to see how you respond. Do you catch her meaning beneath the words? Do you respond to the signal she's sending, or do you take her statement at face value and miss the point entirely? She says, I'm awful at cooking. You reply, yeah, me too. Missed. She says, I'm awful at cooking. You reply, looks like I'll have to cook for you sometime. Received. That difference is everything, because she won't circle back to give you another chance. She'll move on, recalibrate, and quietly file you under. Doesn't get it. The door that was open closes without noise, without confrontation. And this is the heart of it. Not manipulation, not games, understanding. Women aren't trying to confuse you. They're speaking in a language shaped by thousands of years of social complexity. a language built to express interest while protecting themselves from risk. Not being fluent in this language doesn't make you less than other men. It simply means you were never taught it existed. But here's the shift that changes everything. Fluency can be learned. You can train yourself to notice the signals, to recognize the patterns, to read the subtext. Not to manipulate, but to meet her where she truly is, because that's what she's already doing. She adapts to your language when needed, speaks directly when clarity is required. But in the places where directness carries risk, where vulnerability feels too exposed, where the social cost is too high, she's building a bridge from her side. And she's waiting, watching, to see if you'll build from yours. Most men never do. Men often stand on the sidelines, frustrated, wondering why women seem so complex, why they don't make the first move, why nothing feels straightforward. But the men who learn to read the language beneath the surface see an entirely different reality, a reality where women are signaling constantly, where interest is visible, legible, actionable, where what once looked random now reveals itself as a pattern, messages, invitations, opportunities. Connection stops being luck. It becomes literacy, the ability to read what's already being written. She's been communicating all along, in the way she positions herself near you, in the attention she modulates, in the unconscious adjustments when you appear, in the progression of touch, in the time she makes space for, in the territory she protects, in the subtext woven into every word. The signals are there. They've always been there. The only question is whether you're ready to finally learn how to read them. In the comments, maybe even in past relationships, drop your thoughts below. I read every one. If this helped you see differently, hit subscribe for more straight talk truth about modern dating. No fluff, just what you need to know. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.